Hey everyone, it's Max, and today I'm really excited to share some updates on Ruins of Roguewood, finally. Now, I didn't want to do a traditional devlog series like I did with Exfil because I predict this game is going to take nearly as long to put out, but I did want to focus on number crunching today. Now, I apologize for not being able to post or talk as much, as I've had some personal issues I've had to deal with. Maybe I should use dual songbirds next time. Anyway, Liberate Rubicon. As I was saying, today we're going to be crunching some numbers for Ruins of Roguewood, and I'm going to be going through my process. It'll be a bit more technical, but I think for anyone who's looking to design similar games like dungeon crawlers, more action-heavy combat experiences, you can find something really interesting from this. Something I'm definitely trying to have as a sort of spiritual concept from the original, I want to keep component cost in mind. This game is going to have a lot of replayability and a lot of variation to what you can encounter, but I want it to be cheap, or as cheap as it can be on a print-on-demand service. Now, of course, liberties are going to be taken if I want to follow the spirit of the original game, but since it's a much more robust game for multiple players, I really want to keep my scale in mind here. However, substitutes such as counters instead of dice and certain card sizes are only viable if they feel and look as good as the original. I don't want to pull any punches, but I do want to save on costs. I guess that's the biggest rule I live and die by when I work on this sort of thing. I never want to skimp out on user experience, but I always want to make sure there's a more viable option for cost effectiveness. Now, once you've established your basic mechanics, you're going to want to jump straight into recognizing your scope. You want to know how much the components are going to cost. As I said, you're going to want to understand what the players can do, what their limits are, and identifying your scope is incredibly important to making a focused and elegant design. Something to quickly identify, understand, and work with is the player's power scale. What is their toolkit? How many actions do they get a turn? How do turns work? What items can players use under what limitations? Now, using Exfil as a big example here, you want to build an engine, a system for the players to have fun, not something for them to simulate. Of course, simulating certain things like weapon damage and movement are required, but my point is that you can't simulate it to such an anal degree that players can't work in those limitations and build something interesting out of the game's systems to make them feel like they're having their own unique experience that's tailored to them. Now, check out this footage. I'm utilizing a weapon that has a range limitation, a basic math problem. Whenever I roll, I have to count the number of spaces away I am for the target. For every space, I subtract 1 point of damage from the total output. I chose this limitation when I built my kit at the start of the game, and I can spend items to improve my risk versus reward for high damage over range and action limitations. This basic philosophy can be applied to anything, but especially the genre I'm working in. You guys know I love my dungeon crawlers, and I love simple and effective combat systems. This all coincides with the idea that you're building an experience based off of the player's toolset, based off of their abilities, weapons, resources, whatever. It's all relative to how you curate the experience to them, making it difficult or easy depending on what components you tweak. And that is the basis of my biggest philosophy when I design games. I want to build systems that allow players to work within seemingly tight limitations, so that they feel like they're pulling through overwhelming odds, when really, It's just a little bit of number crunching and smart game design. Something else that's really big to my personal philosophy and that helps me clear out all my spreadsheets and make everything look nice and neat is understanding and working with holes in my designs. Now, certain monsters or weapons or abilities might only cover specific circumstances. That's an example of a hole. Consider one of the oldest examples known to man, chess. Chess has multiple unique pieces that only cover certain areas of the board, can only move in certain specific ways. This is intentional, as it's designed to make you use all of your units in conjunction with one another in ways you wouldn't expect. Something else to take into account, you need to find ways to break up the general flow of the game. When I was designing Exfil, I talked and thought about this at length. You need to throw monkey wrenches into the situations. That's where the whole holes situation comes in. You need to let the players go off on their own and find their own unique solutions to things. It really helps build the experience as unique. That's why I'm taking another cue from Exfil. Single-use, consumable items that you find as you play that have unique effects and all kinds of weird abilities. With this in mind, let's circle back to Ruins of Roguewood and some updates to its mechanics. Ruins of Roguewood is broken up into two phases that switch back and forth multiple times per game: exploration and combat. Much like the original, you follow a simple order of operations to reveal a room and all the threats within. After revealing the room, you lay it down on the side that has the most open spaces for you and your team. Then, you draw from the round's monster deck and place them down left to right. After using the color-coded dice to represent the monsters, you flip your card over from exploration mode to combat mode, giving you a slick reference as well as a meter showing your skill. Turn is dictated completely by your weapon, your items, and how many skill points you have. You can use as many items as you want at any point during your turn, so long as you have the leftover skill points. How many spaces you move per turn, meanwhile, is dictated by your weapon. Even though your moves are limited, the sequence in which you attack and move is not. Each weapon also has a unique skill-based attack you can use. Now, I know that example was probably a little rough, but I want to emphasize the skill system and the fact that the entire game doesn't require a roll of dice from the player. Just allocation of resources and choices based off of the items and weapons you use during your turns. All of this goes to show there's more than one way to skin a cat. While both Exfil and Ruins of Roguewood are dungeon crawlers that are derivative of each other in terms of design, there's a lot of key differences from things that I've learned playing different games. So get out there, enjoy some good games, and find what feels good to you. No two designers think alike, and building a process that works for you is key to making great games that feel right, play right, and are overall fun. Alright everyone, that'll do it. I've said my piece on the matter. Game design is a process of a million facets. You're essentially creating your own problems to come up with solutions for, in order to create an experience that's coherent and fun. And I feel like everyone has their own unique way to do it. I really hope that me sharing my experience and a slice into how I do things has helped inform you as designers and maybe just casual players looking for a reason to enjoy games more from a design standpoint. All that being said, I'm gonna get on out of here. I got some work to do. You guys have a good one. Later!